It was supposed to be just another evening, a simple get-together with friends. But for Daniel, one glance across the room would shatter everything he believed about love. For years, Daniel had what many would call the perfect life. A loving wife, a secure job, and a home filled with warmth and laughter. He was content, settled in the comfortable rhythm of their shared existence. That night, as he walked into the party, a smile on his face, he was looking forward to a few hours of relaxation, a chance to unwind and celebrate the small joys of life. He had no idea that this ordinary evening was about to become the dividing line in his life, the moment that separated everything that came before from all that would follow. He felt a sense of peace, utterly unaware that the world he had so carefully built was about to crumble into dust. As the evening wore on, the air filled with music and conversation. Daniel, feeling relaxed, let his eyes wander around the room, and that's when he saw it. In a quiet corner, away from the main crowd, was his wife. But she wasn't alone. The person with her, the way they stood so close, the look they shared, it was a silent movie playing out a story he never imagined he'd be a part of. There was no big scene, no shouting, no dramatic confrontation, just a gut-wrenching, silent truth that hit him with the force of a physical blow. The cheerful noise of the party faded into a distant hum. The faces of his friends blurred into indistinct shapes. In that single frozen moment, everything he thought was real, everything he trusted, dissolved. The man who had walked into that party just an hour earlier was gone, replaced by a stranger hollowed out by a truth he could never unsee. The next morning arrived with a cold, gray light that seemed to match the chill in his heart. The air in their home was thick with unspoken words, heavier than any argument they'd ever had. There was no fight, no yelling, just two souls too exhausted to keep up the pretense. The questions he wanted to ask died on his lips because he already knew the answers. He looked at the woman he had loved, the woman he had built a life with, and saw a stranger. He realized with a devastating clarity that love without trust is just a beautiful, fragile illusion. It was a house of cards, and the slightest breeze had brought it all down. With a quiet, aching finality, he ended the marriage. There was no thirst for revenge, no fire of anger, only the deep, profound sorrow of a broken heart. A let it go, not because he was strong, but because holding on was no longer an option. It was the most painful, yet necessary, goodbye of his life. In the days that followed, Daniel found himself adrift in a sea of emptiness. The house, once a sanctuary of shared memories, was now a hollow echo chamber. Every chair, every picture, every corner whispered of a life that was no longer his. He was alone, truly alone, for the first time in years. The silence was deafening. He felt lost, unmoored from the life he knew. But time, in its slow, relentless way, began to work its quiet magic. He started small. He picked up a book he'd been meaning to read. He went for long walks, just to feel the sun on his face and the ground beneath his feet. He learned to simply breathe again, in and out. Each sunrise brought a little less pain, a little more space. He wasn't trying to forget. He was learning to live with the ghost of what was lost. The healing was slow, almost imperceptible, but it was happening. He was learning to be his own companion, his own anchor in the storm months passed. The sharp edges of his grief began to soften. One afternoon, seeking a small change of scenery, he found himself in a quiet little cafe he'd never been to before, and that's where he met her. She was a gentle soul with a kind smile and a patient way about her. They started talking, and for the first time in a long time, Daniel felt a spark of something other than sadness. She didn't try to fix him or erase his past. Instead, she listened. She understood that his heart carried scars. With her, he learned that finding love again wasn't about replacing what he'd lost or forgetting the pain. It was about allowing his heart, broken as it was, to feel something new. She didn't magically heal him. She simply sat with him in the light, reminding him that life still held so much beauty, even after the darkest of storms. He was learning that love isn't about perfection. It's about having the courage to grow strong enough to begin again. Sometimes, life has to break your heart to show you its true purpose. What feels like a devastating end is often the quiet, unassuming beginning of who you were always meant to become. The pain carves you out, making space for something stronger, something more authentic to grow in its place. For Daniel, Losing everything he thought he wanted was the only way he could find what he truly needed. It's a difficult truth to accept, but the most profound transformations often rise from the ashes of our deepest heartbreaks. So remember this: forgive, heal, and rise. Because even the most shattered hearts can learn to beat again, sometimes stronger and with a more beautiful rhythm than before. Your story isn't over. Thank you so much for watching and sharing this journey with me. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that explores the depths of the human heart. See you next time.